The nerfs are in and everybody's going crazy, but I want you all to calm down. I'm going to explain what's going on with Bond. Yes, you're seeing a huge damage decrease because you've loaded him up with a lot of speed, and now we need to focus in a different direction with him. And it's all relative. If this guy was doing far more damage than everyone else, now he's brought down. Is he doing the same damage as all the other rares, as some legendaries? We don't know yet. We need to test some builds. I just got off stream talking about all these changes, and what we really need to focus on with Bond is his critical damage increase if you have his Chivalry 3 and his Chivalry 8. Really, all you need is the Chivalry 3, because right now, you've got your Bond geared all the way up with a whole bunch of speed. I never had all that speed on my Bond, so he lost about 40 to 50% damage, but he's still doing amazingly well compared to all my other so-called damage dealers that I have. And what I need to do now is focus on attack and critical damage, because my Chivalry is Chivalry 8. Which means here at Chivalry 3, we get 100% additional critical damage. And we're not really utilizing that because we're going really high speed. So we need really high attack to make this better. We can go additional critical damage, and we need to make sure that we are critting with him. Because now all that additional speed is not giving us a big increase in his damage. So we're just going to have to change how we're gearing him. And if you've got this, Chivalry 8, you get 20% additional critical damage. So this is the only hero that we have that can get this high additional critical damage, which means a hell of a lot. If we gear him with a whole bunch of attack, crit rate to make sure we crit, and then any kind of additional critical damage or even more attack, he is going to be a beast, which means taking him out of all the speed stuff. Speed set, if you're in that, get out of that speed set. I'm on a vigor set because I use a skill 3 all the time. I might actually change this to an attack set, to a crit rate set. I've got crit rate right here on this. What are those? Earrings. So I'm at a 71% chance to crit. And then when I use my keepsake, I get 10% additional crit plus 20% additional critical damage. So for me, where my Bond's at, I'm getting 140% critical damage. And I'm not really taking advantage of that. I'm getting a little bit of speed here and there from this, which isn't a lot because it's tier 3, it's rank 3, 20 speed, and then I'm getting 33 speed. So for me, it wasn't a huge decline in damage. For you guys that went all speed set, all speed substats, yeah, you're going to see a big decline in your overall damage with him. But he's still giving himself some damage buffs depending on what skills you use. He's still knocking back the turn meter. Whenever he gets low, if you have Chivalry in him, he'll pop back up in health, and he's getting all this additional critical damage. So I urge you, Stu is just chilling for the game, or I'm in denial. No, what we need to do is focus right now. Give him high attack, high crit rate, and anything else we can do to take advantage of critical damage, and I guarantee you this guy is still going to be a top tier damage dealer. Will he be as fast? No, he's not going to be as fast. He's not going to fly in an arena and just wreck shop and keep taking turns over and over like he was before. But now, if we build him differently, he might fly in a lot slower and wreck somebody, which is still great. Before, he was doing top tier damage and he was doing it fast. So Bedivere would take a turn. This guy would have already taken like 2 turns over Bedivere and doing more damage than Bedivere. Obviously, that needed to be reduced. We're going to do some more testing on stream tomorrow, and I will bring you an updated guide on Bond and his damage, and we're going to compare it to a lot of other top tier damage dealers and see where this guy falls. All the speed damage dealers were nerfed. The only ones that weren't nerfed was Tristan. Tristan got a little increase in his speed multiplier for having additional speed converted over to the attack percentage. He was the only one. Let's go over the list and see what's changed in case you haven't had a chance to look over this. Merlin was getting a weird increase in his abilities here. But if you didn't have resistance on your heroes, if you didn't have high resistance, then Merlin's going to play exactly the same. There was no nerf, there was no improvement. It's just there was a weird interaction with high resistance when you're using Phoenix Ashes or when you were hitting somebody with frozen remains. So no change there for Merlin. We have Cormac. He just got an increase in the evasion rate decrease that he puts. The debuff he puts up, instead of the second version of this, it's the third version. So much stronger for Cormac, but the damage didn't change. The requirements for that didn't change. Boars just got an increase in turn right here for counterattack damage. Increased to 3 turns from 2 turns. No damage increase in that. I think the same thing. Yeah, across the board, Boris just basically got an increase in his counterattack damage from 2 turns to 3 turns. That's probably maxed out with skills, but I love seeing that. Gareth increased her stun percentage from 20% to 30%, which I think is pretty interesting because Gareth, if you have the 8th chivalry and somebody is immune to abnormal status effects, she'll actually put up increased damage taken and decreased defense. Kind of a mini Morgan. So that's really cool for Gareth because you would think of Gareth as just a PvP unit or a control unit to bind all the time and stop them from attacking. But if you have that Chivalry 8, it's pretty interesting. And I got her Chivalry 8 a couple days ago and I tried it out on a boss. It was kind of cool. We'll have to do some more testing with her. Looking at these changes for Arthur is actually huge. We did a whole video dedicated to Arthur with his Chivalry 8 and he wasn't working well because we only got a crit rate buff for 1 turn, and then for 2 turns, he'd have no crit rate buff. And I actually said that if he had it for 2 turns and then 1 turn did not have it, it would be 100 times better. So they fixed that. They give him a crit rate buff increase of 1 more turn. So we're going to have to go back and try out Arthur and see what he's doing because he's going to perform so much better. 2 turns of crit rate and then 1 turn of no crit rate buff on him. It's really going to help him do some damage. Kieran the Fae with the big mace, she got an increase in her buffs. And then default skill use 1 went to 2, skill max use +2. I'm not sure what that passive ability is, but we get additional uses, so all good there. Clarissan, she is the fire legendary with 2 swords that has always performed badly, like just does not do damage. Relentless Pursuit got an increase in its turns, and then this Jaw Twister ability got a damage increase. I don't think this is going to save her. She's always been terrible damage, especially compared to Bedivere, but this Jaw Twister going from 59% to 83% I think is really good. I'm pretty sure that's her passive ability that when it procs or when you crit, you do additional damage. I'll have to double check that, but if it's tied to her passive that does the additional hits, this could be pretty huge. Bedivere got an increase with his Storm Weapon. We only use the Frost Weapon. We're not going to be using the skill 2 in the Storm Weapon, but if you do like the Storm Weapon, getting an increase is pretty nice. It's nowhere near the damage that the Frost Weapon that he summons to us is for the skill 2, but it's still a nice increase. I like seeing these increases. Morgan got a nice change with the skill order on this ability. Before, it would sleep them, and then it would do damage again and try to apply Recovery Disruption. Now it's going to hit them 1 time, Recovery Disruption, and then it's going to hit them another time and try to put them to sleep. So they'll actually stay slept instead of them knocking them out of that. Gillian got a cooldown on her Flexible Diplomacy. This is her passive ability, the 3rd one, that whenever somebody gets a heal, they get an attack gauge increase. If it didn't have a cooldown before and anytime they got healed, we were getting this attack gauge increase, that's pretty broken. Now it's a 1 turn cooldown. So either way, Gillian is still top tier. That just made her not so broken. Torin, she needed this. Torin is great. I love to use her skill 2 where I get increased defense twice. I get the effect accuracy twice. And when I get that little recovery over time, just having the increased defense up, 2 of those keeps me alive, even with that little baby heal. But this is her Chivalry 8 to where she had a chance to give you a full heal, the healing elixir, up to 100%. Now it's 30%. So I think this is good. These are in line. Nothing really changed with Torin unless you had her Chivalry 8. So don't worry about it. She's still going to function exactly the same way she did before. She is a great healer and even a great support healer just to come in there and give your guys that increased defense to push content that you couldn't get through before. Like you're taking too much damage. She's really good for that. Nicholas, he got an increase in his damage from what I remember. He did. And this is good. This is a skill 2. I think it's the 2 little snakes that run across the ground. It's just a pure increase, 70% to 108%. On a Storm Relic here, we get another increase from 54% to 108%. Good increase, and I love seeing this guy because I've been using him in the favorite dungeon. He's the one that goes stealth and just provokes everyone. Your guys get attacked, he runs in there and hits you. You know what I'm talking about if you've done the Forbidden Dungeon and you faced off against a couple of them. Very, very annoying, and he is really effective as a hero to help you get through those waves in the dungeon and to get through that favored dungeon. Really effective. On stage 9. Stage 10, you fight the big boss, but 9's where I've been farming with Bedivere and him, Nicholas, and it's been great. All these bond changes, but like I said, anyone that was taking advantage of speed to get additional damage, they were all nerfed except for Tristan, so maybe Tristan is pretty good. But you can read over all of this. I don't think you need to. It's just a lot of, instead of 1.5% of additional speed, it goes down to 0.4% speed. So it is a big difference, and that's why I said we need to re-gear him differently. I'm not going to reset mine. I'm actually enjoying still playing mine right now, and I'm going to re-gear him tomorrow, and we're going to put him up against other heroes and see how well he does. Tristan, you can see he got 0.3 attack from his speed. He's getting 0.6, the highest attack speed multiplier I think we have now. So maybe Tristan can be good. That would be nice. That's for his flame relic. This might be a typo. Maybe it's supposed to be 0.3 and then 0.6 changed, just like it was up here for his flame relic. Frost relic from 0.6 to 0.3 again. I'm pretty sure that one has to be a typo because all of these are increasing it from 0.3 to 0.6. So we do need to test Tristan out with high speed. Whatever gear you had on your Bond before, if you were going crazy speed, throw it on Tristan and see what he can do. Now, I didn't know about this for Tristan's Chivalry 8. It was nuts before. Crazy damage, and now it's been taken down by a lot. So if you were utilizing Tristan's Chivalry 8, it's not going to be as cool as it was. Nowhere near. 670% of attack with 1.5 on speed. Now we're at 100% attack with 0.6 on speed. Very different. This is the bearded guy who does marks. He's an uncommon. He's a trapper that lays down that trap that will do a mark as well. This guy was doing damage based off of speed. Obviously, that's been lowered. That's what all this is. Anything based off of speed, it's lowered. This is the uncommon rapier lady with short hair. And again, anything that was based off of speed has now been gutted. 0.9% down to 0.2%, 0.9% down to 0.2%. Those are all the changes. So there really weren't any massive changes except for Bond. He is the only one. But again, I'm telling you right now, once we take advantage of that critical damage, as long as you have his C3 up to his C8, you don't have to have C8. That's only 20% additional critical damage. C3 gives you 100% additional critical damage, and we go away from all this additional speed. Additional speed on him is still nice. We've got a passive that will give us a speed buff. We've got other abilities that will give us a speed buff. We'll take it. It's just going to be a minor change in damage compared to what we can do now with the critical damage. So I'm going to go away with this, and I'm going to go with attack. And I'm going to go with attack here, and I'll go with critical damage wherever I can, and I'm going to get his crit rate up as high as possible, or at least 70% is pretty good, so that we can take advantage of all that. And I still think he's going to be top tier. Let me know your thoughts about all these changes down below. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure you follow me over on Twitch and on YouTube. We'll be streaming on both at the same time. We just did a stream a couple hours ago. We'll do it all over again tomorrow when we start testing him along with some other heroes. I appreciate your time, your love, your support, and I will see you all in a video soon.